Moto Mouse, the podcast for MotoGP, motorsports, and more. My name is Zoe, and long live the king.
My name is also Zoe, and we mean that not in a colonial way, but in a goat way.
In a goat way, 100%. Not to talk about Jorge Martin for 2 minutes at the top of the pod, every pod.
No, but now we have to. This
Now
is
we
now
have
a
to.
tradition, unfortunately.
He is now out until at least Austin, is the news of the week.
Yes. Yep, that's the big news. He is confirmed to be out until Austin. What I've heard and read is that heard as if I'm in Thailand right now. What I have heard and read is that there's not a lot of confidence he'll even be back for Austin because there's a really good chance he'll be out longer because apparently the new brakes are very finicky and were a lot worse than the brakes from Sepang. So, and I found more details on how he actually originally broke them in the second situation.
Please tell.
He was, I believe, training on some kind of motocross bike. So very much not like a race bike, but motocross or something. Somewhere in Spain in the dead of winter. So it was what I remember was 2 degrees Celsius. So it was 35 degrees Fahrenheit.
Jesus.
So just above freezing. And his ass was on a track somewhere in Spain. And of course, had a high side.
Buddy.
So that's how that happened. Those are the details we have. It was interesting too, this whole weekend, just thinking about how things happened and how the race weekend went. It felt weird to kind of be it feels a little quiet, and it's because one of the biggest characters of 2025 just isn't there. Should we back up and maybe just talk about how this is the first race weekend of the season?
This is the first race weekend of the season. And what a start to the season.
It has been so many long, dark, cold winter days without really a reason to live.
So true. For you, yeah.
And it's just, truly, the sun came out this weekend in a metaphoric way, and I'm just really excited to be back. I started watching some IndyCar this weekend and then got kicked out of the Fox TV app.
No.
I'm going with the flow. Life is good. I'm happy.
What's so funny to me, just speaking of IndyCar real quick, is that in MotoGP and F1, you've got all of these very exotic locations, some of which I've never considered or heard of before. Buriram, for instance. When I think Thailand, I don't think Buriram by any means. Just like in Japan, I don't think of Suzuka. That's just not the first city that comes to mind. And then you go to IndyCar, and they're racing in St. Petersburg. Russia? No. Florida. Where my grandmother lives. So...
where a lot of people's grandmothers live. Many grandmas live in St. Petersburg.
And very close to where my parents go for vacation every summer. And so I just think it's very silly that, I just think it's funny that it's this world-class sport. Yeah, so motorsport is back in a big way, kind of. I think every series kind of kicked off this weekend. WEC kicked off. You had F1 testing. You had MotoGP first race
the
this season.
aforementioned St. Petersburg IndyCar appearance.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know.
We're back, baby.
Did World Rally do anything? I don't know. I don't know that, man.
Well, they're thinking about starting a union, so they need all the time in the world.
That's so true. What a way to start the season in Buriram.
I'm so glad you say that. Because I completely agree. It was... Should we just go through the weekend? Should we just talk through it?
I want to start by quickly revisiting who we predicted at the beginning.
Oh, we should definitely recover that.
At last episode, who we predicted our top 3 for the final podium and our fail king.
Yep.
If I recall correctly, your Sunday top 3 were Mark Wynn, Pecco in second, and I think you
I said Quartararo for third.
Quartararo or Acosta, you said could be the third.
Yes.
And your fail king.
And my fail king was Enea Bastianini.
Correct. And then my 3 were, I also said a Mark Wynn. I said Pecco in second. And then I said Marco Bezzecchi in third. And then my fail king, which I kind of won, by the way, was Fabio Di Giannantonio. Spoiler alert. I think I won fail king this week.
We're going to have a discussion about that because I think I won. Stay tuned.
Let's get into it. So
let's start chatting through practice and quali, just the high points. And then as things come up, we'll talk through our predictions from last week. So I think like the biggest thing about this weekend that everybody was waiting for is what was Marc Marquez actually going to look like in full race trim? How is that going to go? One major caveat for this weekend is Buriram was recently the second round of preseason testing, so pretty much everybody has a really good feeling going into this weekend. They've spent minimum 3 days, 2 or 3 days at this track. Depending on concessions, you might have had more time. But there shouldn't have been any like setup issues or the standard setup delay like a typical race weekend. So Mark looked great. Looking
back, I felt kind of silly that we literally in a previous podcast talked about how good Alex Marquez is at Buriram and then completely ignored him in our predictions for the weekend. Yeah, I felt very silly because he also had a killer weekend.
The other thing about Alex, I think that is so interesting, and just like Ducati as a whole, so this honestly might be a really Ducati heavy just episode. Alex Marquez and Frankie Morbidelli are both jumping onto a bike that is kind of widely regarded as one of the best bikes in MotoGP of this era, and was an insane bike last year, and is either the exact same bike or a bike that's close-ish to the bike they were riding in the previous season. So they should be starting the season really well anyways. That is already a very primed project of a bike. And I believe they're on the bike from Austria, so it's not... It was a bike that did get developed through the season. So all of this to say, again, why did we not think Alex was going to be great?
We're silly little gooses.
We're fake fans. Sorry.
We're fake fans, Alex. And silly little gooses, because you literally said to me, Alex loves Buriram. He always does great here. And then we both collectively forgot that he existed.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy.
Sorry. Love you.
I don't think he's going to be too broken up about it, considering the weekend.
No, I think he has other things going on. One thing that I find really interesting and kind of funny in retrospect about the practice and quali kind of pre-race sessions is that Pecco Bagnaия's test schedule over the course of preseason testing ran a little bit longer than they expected. So he actually didn't have time to finish his setup for the race weekend during preseason testing. He came into the weekend not having the setup figured out. And he said that was a mistake. And that bore out. That was a mistake. That was a problem. And I think that, to me, will be one of like the overarching trends of this season for Pecco, which is he needs to get his shit together earlier than Sunday.
Yeah.
Because he cannot be doing this thing where he kind of shit the bed on Saturdays like he did last season. He cannot be doing that. That can't happen.
Yeah, so not a great quali on his part. And I think that,
he recovered as best he could, but the fact that it was close for him getting out of Q1, like he can't be doing that again, especially when Jorge Martin gets back.
Oh, yeah.
We know Mark is strong. We know Alex is solid right now. We know that Marco Bezzecchi is also very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Over the course of the weekend, he was moving at the same rate as the top 5. We know that the other Aprilias in Trackhouse are looking good. It's early, but they're looking good. We know Jack Miller is showing up where he should not be, feasibly, on a Yamaha. There is a lot less wiggle room.
I think it's going to be a very close season and not one that you can kind of scrape by on a hope and a prayer.
I agree. Other thing I want to talk about for, pre-quali, practice sessions is Pecco and Frankie Morbidelli's friendship being over and done and just out the door. I joke, I jest, but it was very tense. Frankie Morbidelli, for those who might not have watched, Frankie Morbidelli impeded Pecco's last full speed, kind of one lap chance to get from practice and straight into Q2. So this is what led him into Q1. Frankie is the first VR46 Academy member. Pecco came in very shortly after, so they have a very long relationship together and a very close one as part of the Academy.
They're in a clique.
They've been friends for a long time. They're in a clique. They're in Valet's the mean girl. They're the mean girls, like, 2 sidekicks.
They are Valet's Regina George.
I would say Pecco is Gretchen.
100%. And then Frankie, I think Frankie is Karen.
Yes. In, like, the least offensive way possible. He's also a smart guy, but he does kind of go with the flow. He has a great vibe.
He has, like, ESPN or something.
Yeah, 100%. You can always tell when it's raining. Always. Frankie impeded Pecco's last hot lap to get into Q2, and Frankie's reasoning is that 2 riders in front of him also impeded him. But that doesn't really track. When you watch the actual footage, Frankie slows down in the racing line, turns and looks over his shoulder, and makes what looks to be direct eye contact with Pecco, who is hauling ass. So, yeah, he did get a three-place grid drop penalty for that, and I think that was fair. Pecco was pissed.
The girls are fighting.
They are fighting. And I think that just didn't really set him up for success. He is, like, a little bit of, like, a mentalist kind of rider, and I think he just didn't need that. And it didn't help. So those are the big pieces of kind of pre-race sessions. Obviously, we wanted Marco Bezzecchi to do better than he did. He qualified somewhere, I think, around P8 or P9.
I think it was P8.
He had great pace.
I don't think it was a bad weekend.
I think, like, just qualifying didn't go exactly the way he needed it to. And then for the sprint, he had a super, super rough start, which I think is a bit of a rookie move, especially considering that the kind of breakout star of the weekend, Ayagura, who was on a Trackhouse Aprilia as a rookie,
in love
qualified
with him.
P4 and had an incredible showing.
And finished P4.
Yes.
I don't think that was great for Bez, but also I don't think the weekend was a wash for him. Like, obviously the sprint didn't go great, but I think he made up for it in the race. I think that he had a pretty decent race, all things considered.
And Bez is such a confidence rider. There are some riders that genuinely just need to feel good about where they are, and it's looking like Bez is one of them, and he does well when he feels like he has a good team around him. He feels like he can make an impact, and he feels like he has a great bike. And all signs are pointing in that direction.
Touch briefly on this. Ayagura.
I love him. Ayagura, I love you.
First of all,
beautiful bike.
Letter to Trackhouse Racing. Please keep the Gulf livery the whole year.
It looks so cool. I love it.
The bike was beautiful. Beautiful bike. Beautiful, beautiful bike. I thought that he had just such a great weekend kind of out of nowhere.
It's interesting because he is the reigning Moto2 world champion, and that is nothing to sniff at. You can go in a lot of different directions post that series. You can't always take that as gospel. And then I think we were also all thinking, okay, he's on an Aprilia. He's on a Trackhouse Aprilia, which last year had a really not good year. So it's not like there was a lot of expectations around what he was going to be bringing to the table. And he just came out swinging.
Yeah. He made
I've
made a really big deal this weekend about Somkiat Tredtra and how it was also his debut and his home Grand Prix debut. And I just felt so bad for him. Because compared to...
Honestly, don't.
Okay, never mind.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I was just like, if I'm a rookie and you're a rookie and you do that well at my home race, I'd be a little upset. But why shouldn't I be upset for him?
No, you're like, yes, empathy is real and good, and we all should have it. However,
okay,
Somkiat is on a Honda. Let's not lie to ourselves about where that is.
Okay.
The Hondas are looking better, I think, a lot better than I was expecting. But they're not looking better on the level that the Aprilias are.
Yeah.
Somkiat Tredtra is going to have chances to put his name out there, while Ayagura will have chances to do the same. But they're both rookies. This is great. Like, I had an incredible weekend. And we should be giving him his flowers for that, but it is one of those situations where there is now a lot of pressure on him to deliver every single weekend to that level.
Yeah.
And if I were Somkiat, I would be maybe a little bit glad I dodged that bullet.
Yeah. You know what? You're right.
No one's asking for a rookie to show up on day one and kill it, unless your name is Marc Marquez.
Unless your name is Jack Doohan.
Okay. And you know what? You're right. Jack needs that. He was biting at Pecco's heels the entire sprint.
Whole
and
sprint.
I loved it. It was so fun.
I loved it and I loved it.
Yeah.
And that
we loved it and I loved it.
And that joke is going to be made probably a lot for the rest of his career.
Yeah, like, sorry. You're going to have to get used to that.
Sorry, buddy. If Trackhouse, I hate AI. If Trackhouse and or I do not seek out an AI sponsor, that is the biggest miss of all time.
Yeah. They need like Gemini. It rhymes.
ChatGPT or something. I don't know.
OpenAI.
Yeah. OpenAI. OpenAI.
Yeah.
Sponsor. Aguera.
Call Justin at Trackhouse. Give him a call.
Now they don't have that Pitbull money anymore.
Yeah, no more Mr. Worldwide. We need ChatGPT.
Now we need Mr. End of the World. Mr. End of the World. ChatGPT.
Like, we need one of the most unsustainable industries in the world
to join the rest of the most
one of the most unsustainable industries in the world.
Yes. Beautiful. Join the legions of evil sponsors. A Gulf Oil OpenAI livery, and it's just like sponsored by the climate catastrophe.
Kind of fuck. Like, I can't lie.
It would be great. Great day for villains.
Yeah, great day for villains.
Anyways.
One other thing that was so interesting about watching I in the sprint is he was clearly pacing himself. He was on Pecco closely for a majority of the sprint. Even when he fell back from him, he kept up his pace. And not only does that say great things about I, but it says great things about the Aprilia.
100%. He ran that like
so
a
interesting.
pro. He ran that like a pro. Like, he really did.
He did. And if you are thinking like that and acting like that as a rookie on day one, the only way to go is up.
Jack
like
Doohan.
That you can take anywhere.
Jack
Doohan, listen.
Take notes, buddy.
I know he was watching. Jack is like he watches every MotoGP session. He's said that before.
Anyways.
I want to mention your fail king for the sprint.
Oh, yeah.
Who DNF'd.
Okay. copying Fernando Alonso in Qatar 2023 with just being burned alive, apparently, by his vehicle.
Yes.
And then my thing is that I was reading about this because it was so bananas to me. Look, I'm from Georgia. I get humidity. I get it's hot. But then he said it wasn't mechanical at all.
Yeah, and that happened to Raul Fernandez in the actual race as well. He retired.
But the thing is that if it's not mechanical, what is it?
It's Ryder. They like to just say things. I found out Digia is still feeling a lot of pain.
So basically what he said was like, look, I'm out of the points. I'm skewered like a lamb over a spit. And my shoulder hurts. So
I'm outie.
And you know what? If it sucks, hit the bricks.
I'm a true believer in if it sucks, hit the bricks. Like, hit the bricks, my guy. Except, don't. Because that's data you can use, unfortunately.
But that went a big reason towards him being my fail king of the week.
Yeah. Solid, I think. So moving to Sunday, talking about the actual GP. In my notes, I just have, in all caps, Ayagura.
King!
Who we love, who did exactly what he needed to do in the Sunday race. I think he ended with a P5.
King shit.
Like, incredible.
I want to give a shout out to a tally in your favor for our season predictions, because your choice for Crash King, Pedro Acosta, did crash very early in this race.
He did do that.
That's
However,
rough.
full credit to him for picking the bike back up and getting on with it.
Yeah. I thought that the very, very weird, very large billboard for Thailand's monarchy was
it did really take me out of it quite a bit.
The eyes of Dr. TJ Eckelberg watching over the weekend, like some kind of omniscient metaphor.
And this is maybe on me, but I really did have to go and Google, is Thailand still part of the British monarchy? Like, I really did, because I was like, I know that they still have their fingers in so many pies. They weren't.
They were never a part of the British Empire.
No. Correct. I had to double check.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
I was confused.
I thought it was very fun how when Pedro crashed, a little Marshall came out and helped push his bike back up. I thought that was fun.
Yes.
The other thing that kind of took me out of the exhilaration of it all for me was when Mark just
sat up
and just went, and then everybody was like, we have no idea what the fuck he just did.
I'm so glad you brought this up. There was no signal on his bike. There was no yellow flag. There was no debris on the track. There was no technical issue that we could see on our end. Didn't look like there was anything wrong with the bike.
Ducati said there was nothing they could see.
Ducati said there was nothing they could see. Mark clearly had not made a mistake on track. He just kind of sat up. And this is obviously one of the biggest talking points of the weekend. Commentary said he's done this in Assen before.
Yes.
And what he did in Assen is he basically dropped a place like he did this weekend and managed his tire pressure. This is kind of nuts, because when you start on pole in MotoGP, the expectation is that you're setting your tire pressure for a front run of a race. There is no feasible explanation that would make sense immediately of why his tire pressure is weird. He shouldn't be having tire pressure issues. This is the only reason he's done it this way before. That shouldn't be a situation now.
Can I posit my theory of what happened?
Sure. I have the answer, so we can compare.
This is what I think happened. I think that, much like the movie The Incredibles, when Dash wants to go out for track and he goes in the race and they're like, obviously Dash's power is that he's super quick.
Runs fast, yeah.
His name is Dash. little helpful storytelling point. And they're yelling and they're like, second, go for second, go for second. I think that's kind of what he thought he was going to do. He was going to make it interesting. That's my theory.
Okay, Pecco. Okay, so what actually happened with his whole situation on lap 7, people have pieced together. Mark has not really said a ton, but you can kind of pick up a little bit based on what he has said and what Ducati has said since the end of the event. What happened is that it was a tire pressure issue. Mark noticed it. And because he was out front, he needed to warm up his front tire. And the only way he could do that when you're out front is you need to get behind someone else. Because MotoGP is like lives and dies on the back tire. However, this has been a problem all weekend, that it is so hot at Buriram and it is so hot on that track that if you get behind someone, any benefit you have from a slipstream or from a slingshot is immediately negated by how hot it is. Mark's problem is that his tire pressure was set low for the race. And he didn't really throw any of his team under the bus for this, which I have to respect, that this is the first race weekend with this new team and they don't quite know him yet and he doesn't quite know them yet. So those were the reasons he gave for what happened. What in reality happened, how that all played out, is that he sat up, said, I'm gonna hit a tire pressure penalty. Don't want that. Let me just pop behind my little brother, who I know, with all the love in my heart, I can take P1 back from him whenever I really need to.
And
I
just
sit
hang
here
out.
And manage my shit.
And hang out for the whole fucking race. There was no point during that race he was not going to win.
Right. Once he was there for 2 laps and was matching Alex almost beat for beat, we're like, why isn't he overtaking him? And I'm like, clearly this is a reason he's doing this. He's doing this for a reason.
It was just so...
The craziest thing to me about it is I think there are very few people who, one, are thinking like this and have the skills to back it up.
This man is playing chess while everyone else is playing like tic-tac-toe with sticks and dirt.
There's a larger conversation, and we'll come back to this, I'm sure, throughout the season, of is this bad for MotoGP?
Okay, Max Verstappen.
Yes. Is this bad for MotoGP? Is this not entertaining? Is this, is this what people are tuning in for? And I think as Max fans, I know our answer on this one, but it's crazy to me that we have one of the sharpest minds in MotoGP, maybe ever, on track right now with the best bike, maybe ever, and the current best team on the grid. And we aren't allowed to sit and enjoy it?
I do not turn on the Olympics to see Simone Biles go, I want the other girls to have a chance. No.
I want them to have fun. No.
I want to see Simone Biles destroy every single person who has ever stepped foot on a gymnastics floor.
I want the Chinese team to go home crying.
You think I want Serena Williams to just have fun? No. These athletes don't want to do that either. The only people who want good racing are the losers.
Correct.
I enjoy watching greatness. And if you can't enjoy watching greatness unfold, I don't think you're a true fan of the sport.
I completely agree. What is crazy to me about this weekend is not only was he thinking, let me up my tire pressure. I need to think about that. But then
how do you even, he
pulled this whack strategy?
Fucking doing quantum physics?
I'm not fucking worried. He said, I'm not fucking worried by the world champion who is half a second behind me. I'm just going to hang out with my brother. And Pecco couldn't catch up and that's on him. But that's insane.
That's insane. It was just such an insane race. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed a Marquez brother 1-2.
It was a Ducati lockout in the most toxic way possible.
couldn't agree more.
Let's talk about the heat, because I know it's come up a little bit.
Yeah, I want to talk
And
about the
it
heat.
was absolutely crazy this whole weekend. We talked about the cooking tires. So it was an issue for tires this whole weekend. It was an issue for traction. It was an issue for grip.
You and I are both children of the South.
This is true.
Have you ever experienced pavement that hot? Because I have.
I would say yes.
They said that the pavement was 136 degrees.
So I'm just going based off of like, I've been places where it's 96 degrees. I've lived in a place that was 96 degrees.
I've done sports
yes.
in places that are 96 degrees.
So we get it.
What was the heat index? Do they have a concept of the heat index? So for the non-Southerners, the heat index is what the temperature is once you factor in what humidity makes the temperature.
It's close to like the real feel.
Exactly. We would get sports canceled because while the temperature was maybe 96 degrees, with the humidity in Georgia, it would be 113 degrees. And they would not let you go outside and practice because you were going to die.
Humidity is what kills people, like full stop.
Full stop.
So it was rough. There's a reason. You okay?
I just looked up the heat index.
I don't want to. Do I want to hear it?
Do you want to guess?
Is it like 160?
It's 146 degrees.
That's horrific.
That's 96 degrees Fahrenheit with a relative humidity of 86 degrees, which is what I Googled and it came back with.
That's horrific.
That's scary.
That's like breaking labor laws. It has to be. All right, all talking shit we did about.
I'm so sorry to
we take
Fabio
it back.
Di Antonio. I take it back immediately. I would melt.
Take it back.
Horrific.
So last year we were in Burram in October, and it was
Let's
rainy.
go back to
It was during the rainy season.
Let's go back to Burram in October.
I think there really has to be a discussion of like weather appropriate racing. Yeah, it was bad. The heat was bad. My takeaway: you cannot be fucking doing that shit during this time of year.
No.
Or make it a night race.
Make
Those
it
are
a
your
night
options.
race. Yeah.
What a great first weekend. I had so much fun. I cried, I laughed, I yelled at the TV.
It was wonderful.
MotoGP's back.
It was great. So,
shall we move into the great wide world of motorsport?
I would love to. Obviously, F1 testing happened. There was a blackout at the track. Very funny to me.
Yeah, what?
And also a red flag because there was just a van on the track.
I saw that. What do you mean there was a van on the track?
Oh, and a window fell and shattered, and that also caused a red flag. So that's 3 red flags.
This is the pinnacle of motorsport.
This to me is like 3 red flags that are also superstitions. Like,
yeah.
Like Stevie Wonder, there is superstition.
So next thing you're going to say is that there was a black cat walking underneath a ladder.
Yeah, his name's Fernando Alonso.
That's so true. So right. So what you're also saying is that the pinnacle of motorsports had a series of
unfortunate events,
slapstick events that impeded the overall events of the weekend. Sick.
And then Carlos was fastest overall in a Williams.
Oh yeah, something's really fucked up. I don't like that.
That's James Vowell's big throbbing brain.
Sure. I'm sure it is.
And then it was all kind of overshadowed by, outside of all of this, the release of the Drive to Survive trailer and Lewis Hamilton eating that shit on the cover of Time magazine.
He did do that, yeah.
Drive to Survive, I think, is going to be a really interesting television series that I'm not going to watch. For my health and safety and peace of mind.
I think that's fair.
And I think also just looking at like the titles and kind of the summaries, like I lived that shit. I don't need to relive it.
I don't need to do that to myself.
And then the other thing I would talk about with F1 is that Lewis Hamilton was on the cover of Time magazine with as horse girls have helpfully pointed out, a very sickly horse.
Okay, I haven't seen this, and now I need to look it up because I don't know if you remember, I am a recovering horse girl.
Well, not to stereotype you, but I didn't know that, but I figured just based on
everything about me.
And basically. And the fact that you're from Virginia.
I mean, listen, not everybody from Virginia has been on a horse, but a lot of us have.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Is the tagline for this cover horsepower? Yeah, this horse is like emaciated.
It's emaciated. According to the horse girls, he has like pretty severe sway back.
Yeah.
And weird
100%.
Weird rear legs. Like they say this is an old horse.
You can totally see it in this one.
Yeah.
Well, for one, the coloring of the cover implies that the horse is a blue roan when it very much is not. I just want to like put that out there.
What horse is it?
It's like a black stallion is the vibe that they want. But a blue roan is like low-key blue.
Yeah. The other thing is too, is not to get into the horse.
Like that's a blue horse. No, I want to get in the horse of it all.
Okay, we'll get into
That's a blue horse. Look at that.
Yes, that is a blue horse.
So that's the cover, the way they have it lit, and I understand you have the backlit, well, whatever. The cover implies it's a blue roan. Like, okay, whatever. But it's clearly not. It 100% has sway back.
And then also he was quoted in the article basically in response to Toto Wolff saying he basically said, "I'm that bitch, shut your fucking mouth," as he should. This is the full quote in response to Toto Wolff. "Don't ever compare me to anybody else. I'm the first and only black driver that's ever been in this sport. I'm built different. I've been through a lot. I've had my own journey. You can't compare me to another 40-year-old past or present Formula One driver in history because they are nothing like me. I'm hungry, driven, don't have a wife and kids. I'm focused on one thing, and that's winning. That's my number one priority."
So there's a lot to unpack there.
He's that bitch.
He said, "I'm her."
Ladies and gentlemen, her. He said, "Toto Wolff, kill yourself.
Keep my name out of your goddamn mouth.
Keep my wife's name out your goddamn mouth, Toto Wolff."
Except he doesn't have a wife and kids.
That's the whole point of the quote. I've seen people say, like, there's a whole...
he's getting eaten alive.
Which is so weird to me because this is literally, like, the whole thing with family and Formula One, like, that has always existed. Going back to 2006 and Fernando Alonso saying that he knew that Michael Schumacher would break because he's got a wife and kids at home. Like, this is not new information.
It's very interesting that this is happening at the exact same time that Timothée Chalamet at the SAG Awards just said that he wants to be one of the greats and is inspired by the greats like
Viola Davis,
Daniel Day-Lewis, Viola Davis. My thing about Timothy is that the coverage in response to that overall has been pretty positive. And I think it's so interesting that obviously like race 100% has something to do with this, in that Lewis is right. He is the only black F1 driver who, first of all, ever. And then additionally, who has seen this much success and has like taken his talent to such heights. So I'm kind of the mind of like, let the man say whatever the fuck he wants. Like, I don't really have a leg to stand on with this.
He's earned it. I think, though, as a society, and I'm saying as a society, as in both this like very buttoned up British mindset about sport success, where you're not allowed to talk about success and wanting to achieve it. But meanwhile, in America, we're now starting to really lean into athletes saying, I am the best and I'm going to be the best and I want to be the best. Like, you've got Simone Biles, Serena Williams saying, I want to be unapologetically the best.
I think that is true. Like, I think there is an increasing apathy for athletes who try and be coy about their goals and about their belief in themselves. Because at least in America, we don't fuck with that.
I think also it goes to show just how far his celebrity eclipses the others in F1. He is a level of famous that just none of them are ever going to achieve.
Again, Lewis is the first and the only Black person to ever excel in F1. And there's like a level of notoriety that comes with that like pushes you into the stratosphere.
When I tell people that this sport was effectively integrated in 2007, people lose their goddamn minds. And then when I follow that up by saying, by the way, there has yet to be another Black driver, and that very person that effectively integrated the sport, is, for all intents and purposes, the greatest to ever do it. It gives me chills. There's just no other athlete that can compare to that. There just isn't.
Not only in the actual record of his achievements in the sport, but in the impact he's left on the sport as a whole. I think there are people, places who are doing things in the same vein as Lewis, but no one is doing it like him.
Literally no one is doing it like him. And I think that I want Max to win, but I would be more than happy for Lewis to get his 8th.
I would too.
And then also, WEC kicked off the season, and fucking Ferrari placed 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
So, is that a good sign? Is that a bad sign for Lewis? With his emaciated horse on the magazine cover?
For whom the bells in Maranello toll.
They toll for thee, Lewis.
I think it's time we look at the grid as ... which, for the uninitiated, is a segment in which we categorize riders and drivers from across the wide world of motorsport as a person, place, or thing. And in honor of, as we're recording this, the Oscars just beginning, we are going to place our riders and drivers as Best Picture nominees.
We are going to do that. Shall I go first?
Would love for you to go first.
All right. So, since this weekend and this episode were a bit of a Marquez 1-2 party, I'm going to focus on Mark and Alex as 2025 Academy Award Best Picture noms. First, let's chat Mark. I'm going to go with Mark as the substance.
Okay.
Here's my reasoning. 1, Mark is ancient. He is decrepit. He should have retired feasibly a couple of years ago, depending on who you talk to. The fact that he is how he is right now, with a busted arm, an ancient body, and a failing mind, is black magic. Something is happening. I think he is taking in the substance.
Couldn't agree more.
He is Margaret Qualley.
Beautiful.
Where's his Demi Moore? I need to know. Save her. And then I think Alex is honestly Dune Part 2. Like, I think that's where Alex is. He is a sequel that is an incredible sequel, because sequels historically and famously are bad. But as much of an incredible sequel as he is, the first one was just too good.
I couldn't agree more. Can I throw in a third writer?
Yes.
And I'm torn between this, so I want your opinion on it. Aguilera, is he a complete unknown, or is he wicked because he's defying gravity?
I think he's a complete unknown.
I agree. My instincts were right. I think he's a complete unknown.
They were. He is a complete unknown, like, truly.
Timmy C with his little guitar, putting some rando named Bob Dylan on the map. Who's that guy?
Who is that guy?
I'm going to go with Lewis, and let's just keep it simple and go with Charles. Lewis, to me, is Conclave.
Yeah.
It's the ornamentalism of it all.
It's the luxury of a incredibly wealthy city-state in the center of Rome.
It's the greater
the
forces
history
at play.
It's the narrative. It's the style. It's the culture. It's the politics.
It's everything. And also my pick
Italy.
For Best Picture, by the way. And then for Charles Leclerc, I'm going to say that he's a Nora.
Oh, you're so right. You're so right.
He's real pretty.
He's real pretty. It's the sensuality, it's the young love, and it's like the first like blush of life being yours, and then how shit it is.
So he's a Nora for me.
Wow, I loved this. We are so right.
We're always right.
If there's anything that's going to happen on our podcast, it's us being right.
That's the tagline. Motomouths. We're always right. And I think that brings us to the end.
It sure does. As always, I've had a great time.
I've had a blast. Make sure to come hang out with us on Instagram and TikTok at Motomouths. We're a real fun time. And let's keep chatting soon.
Okay, bye.